A diagnosis is a very dangerous thing to keep and a very dangerous thing to adopt as a part of you. And the reason behind it is it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It says nothing about who you are or how your body is going to continue to facilitate the healing that it's going and has already been doing. And it actually gives you an illusion to start fighting. And so the problem with that is you start fighting something that is actually working in favor of what you desire. So the body, everything the body does, even through symptoms, is healing. It's healing you based off of the conditions that it's been put in and how you live and interact and interface with your life. It shows you the truth about your life, and we call those things symptoms. And then we put umbrella terms onto objective measures and an accumulation of symptomology, and then we call that something. And generally what happens when you start calling it something, when you get a diagnosis, is now you have an invisible opponent. And the problem is that an opponent is an illusion. And what actually needed to change was what was going on to begin with, even before you got the name. And when you put a name on it, not only do you alter human psychology, but you start adopting the prognosis that comes along with the diagnosis, which is another type of projecting the physical expression to follow a reproducible and a predictable pattern, which again has nothing to do with you. And then the other thing is the illusion that you're actually fighting something, when what you're fighting technically is how your body is choosing to keep you alive. And that's a very dangerous game to play. I talk about it in my Illusions in Medicine masterclass, and even touch on it in that Truth About Nutrition masterclass, so you can understand where this comes in and interfaces with even the inputs you choose to incorporate in your healthy lifestyle, because it actually ties into every part of the human experience. So if you still are operating under the thinking that you are a diagnosis or that you have a diagnosis, I need you to maybe step back and rethink this, because this is one of the biggest obstacles that I have with working with people, is the removing the emotional charge and the mental association to the words that they've been given. Because the words carry such a heaviness, carry such a stigma, carry such a prognosis of what their path of healing is going to look like, and none of it is true. What is true is whatever you came in with is what the body was doing to heal you. Doesn't matter what you call it. And in order to change what you come in with, changing the name of it is just like, you know, take a sunburn and call it Susan, call it Fred. It doesn't matter. What is it? It's a sunburn. There are very actionable steps, practical steps to healing, modifying, and living in a different way to never have that presentation again. And it has absolutely nothing to do with what we call it. What you call it is irrelevant, but not to human psychology, especially with the over-education, over-intellectualization of everything in our world, specifically with regards to health, healing, and what we think we need in order to heal. So if this is you, if you identify closely to a word given to you by the medical industry, you're in a trap. And again, it says nothing to your body about what your body needs. It says nothing to your body about what the body is going to do to continue to facilitate the healing, but it actually puts you in this illusion of a trap, because you're fighting the thing that's been healing you the whole time and will continue to facilitate the healing that you desire. But when you call it an opponent, it switches the way you think, it switches the way you live, and it modifies things to where you're doing a lot more and accomplishing a lot less than you would have if you wouldn't have called it anything and just looked at the presentation without a term, without a word, without a group, without any other package put onto that, and just said, what is it? How did we get here? And how do we do all of the things required to facilitate the change that is actually going to change something, instead of let's call it something, modify all of these things that didn't have anything to do with why it was even here and won't do anything to get us out of here. But we have this identifiable opponent, this word that we can fight, this thing that we can go against, when the whole time they've just put a word to your healing. And now the truth of what's going on is you're fighting your healing. And so this is medicine. This is part of the psychological upside down nature of everything that you're in. So the opportunity today and the reminder here today is a diagnosis means nothing. It's a made up word. a man-made word that means nothing to your body. Your body doesn't even register what you're saying if you utilize a diagnosis or even the diagnostic terms or even how we explain symptomology. It means nothing to the body. So when you're actually wanting to change the physical body, you're not going to speak intellectual language to it to tell it what it needs to do. You're going to actually have to make practical changes to alter why it's doing what it's doing, because what it's doing is always right and it's always to save your life. So just something to think about today, especially if you closely associate with a word given to you by the medical industry, the business of medicine. It says nothing about you. It says nothing about your body, and it absolutely has nothing to do with getting you out of the conditions that put you in the conditions to get that word.